Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. We're taking a look here at Burger, see what's going on, of course. It's been a little while since we looked at this, but it's going to be interesting because we have a lot of increase here recently, got a tremendous amount of requests as well to cover this, so I figure why not? Let's go ahead and jump right in. So, if you're new to the channel, just know, not a financial advisor. I do love teaching people to trade. I hope that you can learn something here today. My goal is to help you become a better trader. So CryptoCash.tech is a site that I created to ensure that you can kind of stay ahead of the curve. I have a trading academy, community, and signal group. Check that out in your own time, of course, but I send out signals for every single trade that I take. And more importantly, I have a trading academy where a lot of folks are coming over here recently to actually kind of learn and grow. Because honestly, the best time to learn to become a better trader is when the market's down, not when it's up, because you can learn a lot more faster. some hard knocks, right, so to speak, as some of us have definitely taken. I totally get that. But the whole point of this is to help you prevent those from happening later, right? So I hope that you can consider joining. Feel free to check that out in your own time. So taking a look here, though, at Burger. I mean, simply put, we're overextended, okay? But how much further can that go? That's kind of the question here. And we're going to look at some overexhaustive states and kind of see some indicators that might tell us potential shifts in direction, or if this is just going to continue to maintain itself, how much better, what's a better case scenario look like for Burger? Where could this go here if it continues on this progression? How much higher can it go? Okay. So we'll look at some of those things here, but of course we want to look at best practice, and to me that is just working our way down from the daily all the way down to the 1 hour. Essentially, those are my three favorite time frames. You can look at the monthly and the weekly, but this is somewhat relatively newer of a coin. There's not a lot of data that way, so the moving averages don't necessarily have to, or they don't necessarily factor in. They do on the daily though. Let's take a look at this here. We're up over the 200-day set moving average, so you can see how the price action come up above that, right? Came down to retest it as a support and continued higher. So that was a key level resistance at one point, and we can kind of see, obviously, that it was. You see this level of where the price action had a lot of difficulty in the past few weeks to get above. Like you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 rejections, right? Where the price action kept trying to get up and couldn't. Now that it has, it's definitely on the right track. Okay, so that was a key level resistance we can see that's kind of broken. We also kind of want to look at some other potential support levels, because it kind of looks like there is a pretty strong support here, which will be likely more of a resistance. So we can see back here in the summer of last year, or more so, I mean, that's basically shortly after Bitcoin dumped, right? Because Burger had a kind of a terrible ICO, at least here on Binance, whereas, 2 or 3 days after it opened, Bitcoin just took a complete crap, and it just went straight down since then. So if you remember summer of last year, we saw Bitcoin come all the way down. That being said, it came down here as low as $3.15. That was the lowest the price ever went until December, which was the second major sell-off from Bitcoin. So keep in mind, this level right here at right about $3.16 is not only a key level support from in the past. You can see that once it broke below, it stayed below, but we're tentatively below that still. So it could and should very well likely work as a strong resistance level, and we could be range bound in this level here for some time. Again, could be potentially, that's just based on what you see here so far with the actual trend lines and effectively more so support and resistance levels. That's not how you make a good educated decision, but on the same accord, that is essentially something factoring in. So we're above some key levels of resistances, which down here is nice. We're above this. We should not retest that level, but if we do, 146 would be a support, okay? Keep in mind also, with this being a strong resistance level, there's a good chance that it's going to take a little while before it can break to the upside. And we want that to happen too, because we need to build a strong volume profile at a specific key level resistance first before you can break through it. And if we just say we broke through it today, for example, it probably wouldn't hold, right? So we want that to hold, we want it to continue. We'll look at smaller time frames to identify, but there is some important stuff to be known there. Another thing to recognize as well is that we are in overtime, essentially. Like this continuation, as awesome as it has been pretty consistent for 9 days straight. While we did have a nice little 4-day sideways action consolidation area, so technically you could say we're only about 6 days in, there shouldn't be much left in the tank here for this to continue higher, okay? Key level resistance plus overexhaustion implies that we should not see the price continue to pass that point. Again, that's what logic should tell you. Does cryptocurrency follow the rules of logic? No, it definitely doesn't. But it's still something to acknowledge and recognize. All right. We also want to see if there's a healthy type of continuation, and by the looks of it, it is for the most part. Right. We can see it kind of comes up and over, and then up and over. Hypothetically, we're in a staircase pattern. Now, I know that it's kind of up and down. Obviously, there's no straight lines, but generally speaking, it's getting enough consolidation in these little periods here to allow for the next legs up to be effective. Okay, so again, that's just kind of something to kind of note. It doesn't necessarily matter a tremendous amount right now. It's not definitive, but does kind of give us an indication here that this is moderately healthy continuation. It's not just a parabolic increase. Because again, up, over, staircase patterns, whatever you want to call it, are typically the most consistent continuations. So I'm not upset with what I see here. What I do see though is, of course, we got a bunch of resets. We had up to a 9 here previously, and then we consolidated in this period before it took off. And every time it comes up, look, we hit a 6, you get a reset. You come up to a 5, you get a reset. 6, we get a reset. So it is nice in the sense that it's not over exhausting itself, and it's not going too much further. So that being said, though, if we've hit 6s and 7s pretty consistently, and we're at a 3 right now, hypothetically, we've got 12 more hours of continuation of the upside. Now, that's, again, a strong hypothetical. I do think that this resistance level will continue to hold, and we'll need to retest that a few times. We might even need to, cup and handle, so to speak, where it comes back up and retest one more. So, again, some things that still need to happen. We need more volume at this price point in order to break through that, because it's such a strong resistance level from the previous support that we need to acknowledge that it's a very valid thing. Okay, taking a look, of course, here at the cloud, we've got all green lights here to leave your position open, but getting close to potentially wanting to close your position, or just say take some profits before the price reverses. So if you're in the profit right now, wouldn't be terrible to take maybe 50% of your position and close it, so that way you can let the rest ride if it does continue higher, but take your profits while you still can. Because if you see here, the lagging span is getting closer to the price action, so unless the price can break above significantly quickly, we'll see this intersect with the price action, and that essentially tells us that's one of the little red flags, I guess you could say, where you want to close your position potentially, because again, the Ichimoku cloud is a very conservative indicator, and it's going to help you kind of get in and out before things happen. So right now, it's still safe, but it's soon to potentially be unsafe, once again, in the next 12 to 24 hours. So we could likely see the price action try to retest that level but not break and then get rejected to the downside. It may also be already on its downside trend right now, and you may want to consider taking this profit. So in truth, this shouldn't go much higher anytime soon based on how it's progressed and where we're at in the overall sequence of numbers. Okay. Again, those are just little things we want to try to factor in. Taking a look at the 1 hour though, let's go ahead and see if there's anything that's pretty definitive here. TD sequential, we hit a 9 here previously, up to a 6, down to an 8. So it's kind of all over the place, but we are seeing some consistent 9s here. And the fact that we did just see a 9 here today, roughly 4 hours ago, right at the key level resistance, does tell us that we're not going to pass that plane or cross that plane in the immediate relative near future. So I think it's important to acknowledge that we're probably closer to the top, the tentative top for Burger. How much lower will it go? Well, we saw 146 as a support, so obviously there's that option. We also want to take a quick look at, so here we can go ahead and draw out some Fibonacci retracement and kind of just see generally what this would look like. As we can see again, once again, this level about 146, 145 is essentially a key level support. But between there and now, we do have 260 and 210 as tentative support levels. And a lot of times when prices increase like this, and they do end up retracing, they'll come down about 50%. In other words, they'll come down to 0.5, so 1.75 could be a likelihood here, depending on how Bitcoin performs. Because again, we got to keep in mind, this rejection from Burger here recently off this resistance level is fairly concurrent with Bitcoin coming down. In other words, Bitcoin has been showing less strength in the last 24 to 48 hours. And in turn, Burger, even though it has increased, it hasn't increased as significant as it could have had Bitcoin been a little bit better quality, if that makes sense. Because again, there's always a correlation. This is breaking mostly free from Bitcoin, so there's not a direct correlation. But I just want you to kind of note that could be a factor as well. But more importantly, I think 175 to 260, while that's a pretty large range, is more likely than not the range that we're going to see from Burger here. Just based on it being overextended, has to consolidate and correct itself a little bit. and I wouldn't be surprised if we see, one or two tiers down based on Fibonacci retracement. Better case scenario though, throwing it out there, of course, because it did take roughly from May to June. So this is roughly 2 months worth of trading. So hypothetically, 2 more months from now, we break above this key level resistance. We could see somewhere in the range of about 618. That's a possibility. And I think 618, if I'm not mistaken, is pretty darn close to some of its previous highs. So we can see here, these two candle wicks, those are both right at that same level at about 618. And coincidentally, strong resistance level right here. So we could literally just draw a line in the sand here and essentially note that that is a key level resistance as well, if and when we break through this plane of what was it? It was 316, 320, right in that range? Yeah, 316. So again, we get above 316, I would say $6 is probable. Again, however likely, hard to say. We'll have to bridge that gap when we get there, but for now, recommend consider taking some profits just based on the fact that it does appear to be overextended. We may have a couple more hours of continuation, but I think it's kind of, I wouldn't say naive, but it's extremely optimistic to anticipate the price action going much higher based on what we've seen here so far. Again, no guarantees in trend lines and patterns, but they increase the overall odds of success in whichever direction you're choosing. To me, I wouldn't necessarily want to short this, but I certainly wouldn't take a long, if that's any consolation. I would wait for confirmation, which to me is waiting for quite a few things actually, right? We need to understand we don't have full-on confirmation here. We do have confirmation, however, that we're overextended to the upside. So you be the judge. However you want to approach this is up to you. But I would consider taking some profits because it does appear that we're nearing the top for the moment, tentatively. Okay. All right. Hope you found benefit. Thank you so much for watching, listening, and learning. If you want to become a better trader, once again, cryptocash.tech is a site, link in the description below. I absolutely look forward to working with you, and you can join over 200 active members. We have signals and an amazing community, all working and learning and growing together. So thanks you so much to all my current community members. You're the best. All right, we'll see you all in the next one. Have a good rest of your day. A wonderful weekend.